to the 2025 version of Smarter in September. I'm Kelly Robert, and I'm the Journey Program Manager here at UBT. Journey is an extremely cool program, if I do say so myself, because you don't have to have a specific checking account with UBT to participate in Journey. We say it's for our customers 50 or better, but you don't really have to be a particular age, and you really don't even have to be a customer. We just like bringing entertainment, education, and enrichment to those folks who still just want to make life the very best that it can be, to seize opportunities. And we do this series every September. We get the most incredible presenters on topics that you want to learn more about. Now, today's presenter is Kevin Orth from Butherus, Mazer and Love. And Kevin presented at our July Lunch and Learn, if you were lucky enough to attend that, he's part of the Lincoln Caregivers Education Group. Mm-hmm. And we didn't give each presenter very long to talk because we had a ton to get through. But I knew from Kevin's just snippet of a presentation that he did that you all were going to be really interested in this. So I asked him to join us, and well, here we are. And today's segment is really designed to get you to view end-of-life planning and perhaps your life as you're living it now from a bit different perspective. Kevin, I'm just going to let you take it from here. There's nothing I could say. I just looked at my notes. There's nothing I could say that could do you justice. So, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the incredible Kevin Orth.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. Man, July, yeah, you're right. That was July we got together. That was an amazing event that we had there over at the venue, and I enjoyed that very much. But I can't believe it was September already. Man, time is flying by. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about, I love the idea of smarter personal expressions. This is really going to be a guide to celebrating a life well lived, or as much as can be a guide in about 45 minutes of time. So hopefully there'll be a couple of takeaways for you and or some of your loved ones that may be able to help them or even yourself. So I want to go back just a little bit in time here. If we look at 19th century funerals, right? If you think back in those days, there weren't all the nice parks and everything that we have now, right? So a lot of gatherings in that, and actually the funeral services, a lot of them were actually conducted at the grave sites in those, because those were well maintained. There's a place for people to gather. If you look at this one here, look at these ladies, gentleman back there. He's having a lunch. They're having a luncheon at the gravesite. So kind of amazing. But again, like I told you, it was a place for people to gather, congregate, be with their loved ones that had predeceased them. But again, a nicer park type setting for them to gather. Oh, Kelly, this is one of my favorites. Check out these ladies at the gravesite having a good old time. They got their link sausages even that they probably made earlier in the week. And they're doing a cheers and everything. So again, they're spending some time in the park, if you will, at that time to celebrate. So when I talk a little bit about what we're going to cover a lot of different things, but it's not going to be so much on death and dying and that. It's really going to be about living the lives that we have with the remainder of the time that we have. And I love this gravestone. I am everyone. And we've all been to a cemetery and we see there's a birth date, there's a death date. That doesn't really tell us a lot, right? It tells us how old they were, basically, right? But our lives, their lives, are lived in that little dash between that birth date and that death date. That little dash really tells that person's story. And did you really know that person's story? Were they able to reveal what that story was? Would people know what your story is? Hey, let's have a little fun. Let's go back and let's look at some of these dashes around the world here. Merv Griffin, everybody remembers Merv Griffin from TV. One of his taglines was, "I'll be right back after this message." Well, on his gravestone, "I will not be right back after this message." How about Joel? You can tell a little bit about him. He was a golfer, right? At last, a hole in one. So it tells a little bit. He had a humor. He enjoyed golfing and that. So it gives a little snippet of what that person's dash was like. How about Kay here? On her cemetery stone, she has her famous fudge recipe. So if you want to take a quick snapshot of that and try that fudge, you can do that. But that's pretty amazing that she obviously was a baker, maybe enjoyed serving people with food was maybe her love language. But she put that on her gravestone. And look at that at at the bottom there. Wherever she goes, there's laughter. So again, a little bit of a snippet into that person's life, what their dash was like. How about Gordon and Joy here? Gordon died in 2013, waiting on the love of my life, he says on his gravestone. And right next to him, Joy joined in 2022 saying, "I'm here." So pretty funny that they had that. Again, a little bit of sense of humor. How about Sue Rangel? "I told you I was sick." So again, kind of told you about her humor, her sense of enjoyment of life. And for Dr. Helen Tyler, "The doctor will see you soon." So she's died, and of course, we'll all be joining her soon as part of life. And then one of my favorites, good old Walter. "Uncle Walter loved to spend. He had no money in the end, but with many a whiskey and many a wife, he really did enjoy his life." So again, a snippet into that person's dash. So we're going to be talking about dashes and how to make the most of that dash. So I have a couple questions here for you. You don't necessarily have to respond in the chat line, but I want you to take a little bit of time to think about these questions, thought-provoking questions on how you want to be known, how you want to be remembered. When they think of you, would they know how much you love them? When we're gone, with the people that matter in your life, would they know how much you love them? Oh, would they hear it maybe, but would they know how much you love them? How about this one? Would they know what brought joy to your life? Would they know what brought joy to your life? Finally, would they know how you wanted your life to be celebrated? At the very end, again, we have that dash that we're living now, but at the very end, there will be that death date. Would they know how you wanted your life to be celebrated at that time? We'll try to maybe help you guide to some of the answers along the way here as we continue today. So one of my great philosophers I love, Kelly, is Winnie the Pooh. I always go to Winnie the Pooh for some advice. "We didn't realize we were making memories. We just knew we were having fun." So memories, if you think of that dash, memories make up a big bulk. The moments in our life, the memories that we create with those moments make up really that person's life. So what I wanted to do is take you through one of the booklets that we have, and I'll give you an opportunity at the end here to know how you can get these if you'd like to. But I have a booklet here called "I Remember When," and of course I'm not going to go through it through my camera, but I have this booklet. It's a 20-page booklet that I can make available to you, and it's about memories. Okay, because again, it's the memories that we have of a person that really lives on, right? We have that image of them, and it's the moments and the memories in their lives that we remember. Within this booklet, there's some statistics information, but it's just good information to have. When were they born? When did they die? Their marital status, occupation, things like that. Actually, a lot of those things, and I'll talk about this a little bit further on too, are things that are going to be needed at the time to obtain a death certificate as well. There'll be family information. And think about this as we go through this with your own loved ones, your own family members. Do you know their maiden names of your mom? Do you know where they were born? Could you name all their brothers and sisters, their children, their grandchildren? Okay, you maybe know that they had them, but could you name all those? Here's a place to have all of those for you. And then it gets into really a plethora of different questions. So there's different ways that you can kind of approach this. But one of the ways I think is to use these as conversation starters. Okay, you don't have to necessarily hand them the booklet, but take some questions out of there, and you can ask some questions from it. For example, what did your mother do for a living? Or Kelly, let me ask you this. What was something special that you remember, not to put you on the spot, but what was something special you remember about maybe your grandma or your grandpa?
Oh, okay. You were going to put me on the spot. Um, that's okay. That's a test I did not have to study for. Both my grandmothers were amazing cooks.
Hmm.
And my mom's mom, Kevin, they didn't have any money, but you'd never ever know it because she always made a place at the table for whoever, however
Wow.
many people she needed to feed. And she turned everything somehow with nothing. She turned everything into a big celebration. You just always had a good time at her home.
Thanks so much for sharing, Kelly, and kind of putting you on the spot. But so I've had the pleasure of meeting Kelly, a few times, but I don't know that much about Kelly other than, she's very nice. She's a warm, welcoming personality. I know where she works, but now I'm starting to get an idea of Kelly and her life and what were some of the influences on her life, and learning a little bit about her grandparents. So those are stories that can be passed on from generation to generation. Here's just another page with a lot of different questions on there. For example, here, Kelly, I'll ask you again, how did you spend your summers as a child? Well, I'll go first, Kelly. I don't. So me as a child, none of you probably really know me that well either. So growing up, I grew up in Lincoln. I spent my summers outside riding bikes. We played a lot of baseball, just messing around in the people's yards and that. Back then, it was like, Mom, I'm going outside. And I just knew that when it was time to come back if I wanted to have lunch, I knew I needed to come back for lunch. I knew I needed to come back for dinner and that. So different times, I maybe say better times sometimes, but I spent a lot of time just playing sports with the other kids in the neighborhood. How about yourself, Kelly?
Oh my gosh, Kevin. I too remember riding. I had a pink Stingray bicycle. So now you can figure out just about exactly how old I am.
Uh-huh.
I rode my Stingray bicycle to the public pool and stayed there all day. If I wasn't at the pool or on my bike, I was reading somewhere,
Okay.
reading. And like you, those were fabulous times because you didn't have to be, parents didn't have to be or weren't afraid. You just, when it was dark, you went home.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That was awesome. So again, some of these are just now you start to learn and have a conversation about people and learn about what they did. Not that these are important, but it helps create again that dash of what we remember from that individual. I'm not going to go through all the pages here, but there's a lot of pages with all kinds of different kind of questions that you can use. Another way to use this is I've had people, they actually give them to their loved one and ask them, hey, take your time, but I'd love for you to fill this out so I have a record of some of your fondest memories of life and different things that I didn't know. So I want to remember you at its fullest so you can ask them some of those questions or they can fill it out themselves. Again, a lot of different questions in here about a lot of different things. Here, we'll go one more here. How about tell about something you built or designed? I don't know, Kelly, have you built or designed anything in your
Well,
life? Maybe it was just a cake. I don't know. Again, I don't know enough about you, Kelly. Tell me.
have I built or designed? Nothing that held up very well. That's
Okay.
for certain. But I do take after those grandmothers, and I'm not a bad cook, so I've created some recipes. Does that count?
Ah, okay. See now, if we're going further, I'd be interested. I've Kelly's piqued my interest. Oh, tell me about those recipes. How did you come about them, or what type of recipes were there? What were the influences? And I kind of know already some of the influence was from her grandparents. Both her grandmas were fabulous cooks, and she got that cooking gene, I guess, passed on through her mom as well. So. That's some amazing thing. So, yeah, so all those type of things. What were their holiday traditions? We know what our holiday traditions are, but do you know what your parents were, your aunts or your uncles or your best friends' traditions? A lot of these are just good conversation starters that help build those memories for a person's life. If we wrap it up here on the last page of it, one of the last questions is there something that happened to make you the person you are today? A little bit heavier question, but if you kind of sum up all those, great question to ask. My dad's still living. Um, to ask him that, what was something that happened? I can see right now he'll kind of chuckle and go, "Oh, I don't know. There's so many different things." But now, if you use that after you've talked about some of the memories, it might come back to him on what some of those significant memories were that made him the person he is. And do you have one word to describe life? Maybe it's really about describing themselves, but again, really gets to know them and for us to remember them while they're living and then even when they're gone. If history truly repeats itself, we should try to create a solid history for our family so they can possibly learn from our mistakes and grow from our love. So again, this is a way to show love, to show interest in people, and for them to share. So that's one of the guides that I have for you on making the most out of life. The second guide I have for you that can help us through navigating some of this end of life stuff, but this is a personal expressions booklet. Again, several pages to that, so I'm not going to hold it up here and go through all the pages, but that I can make available to you as well. A guide to my funeral and memorial wishes. And maybe some of you have done some of this already. This may be a repeat. If you do, kudos. Nice job for doing that. So, things you should know. This is really a booklet that memorializes things and important information that your loved ones should know. Today's funerals are diverse, right? They can be really as unique as you want them to be. But one truth remains to this day that binds one funeral to every other funeral. They are for the living. Funerals are a place for loved ones and friends to gather in support and celebration, a time to remember and rejoice in a life that will continue to touch and shape their own. How? Through those memories, through stories that are passed on, through impact that they've had on yours and other people's lives. And by completing this booklet, you're giving direction and guidance to your loved ones when they need it most. When you think of that time when somebody dies, it's very stressful. It can be very emotional. There's a planning that has to go involved. Man, if you had a guide on what their wishes and what their plans were, wow, what a gift that is to that person to help relieve some of that emotional burden of decision making, allow them to support each other at that time. And then I kind of like how they did this in this book. Again, it's really a message to my loved ones. It's a way to finally say, I love you one more time. And one of the questions is, how do I show it? I'm going to show it by not only saying it, but I put this together so that you have something that even though I'm not there, I wanted this time to be memorable for you. I wanted it to be as easy and pain-free for you. And I wanted you to know what my wishes were. Above all, remember the life and the memories we have shared and the love that will remain strong long after this tribute to life you shared with me. I like how they do that. It's like a kind of almost not all of us are gifted as writers and that. I mean, you can write your own letter and that to your loved ones upon death, but this is another way to do that that shows that love and shares that love that you have with them, even at the time of your death. So let's take a look at the book. I'm going to go through this kind of fairly quickly. But again, in this book, you can write down some of those significant memories or your accomplishments. Also, these may be tokens if you leave some of these nuggets in there for creating that person's obituary. What should I say about Kevin? Oh, what should I say about Kelly? If Kelly has something like this, I'll give an idea of what was important to Kelly. So I make sure I maybe include some of those in that obituary, right? Religious affiliation, pets, what were their names? You know, activities and memberships. What did they belong to? What did they get involved with? What were some of their favorite things? Music, foods, flowers, scripture passages, places to visit. So section 1 has a lot of significant memories, the pets we talked about, activities, and some of their favorites that they can put in there as well, all in one neat little booklet. If we continue on into section 2, we get into some of the vital statistics. Again, a lot of this information will be needed at the time of death for death certificates and other things. So it's just kind of a record of where all that information is in one spot. And you don't have to go searching for these things in other places. When did they get married? Mother's name. Where did they get married? Okay. Where did they go to school? Maybe you know where they went to, high school or college. Did you know where they went to elementary school? Okay. What was their degree actually in? I know they went to Nebraska, but I don't remember what their degree was. Important documents, last will and testament, where that's located. Maybe insurance policy information. So again, all kind of located in one spot. So at that time you have, a record of, here's where they are. Here's who I need to call. Here's who I need to get the process going on any claims that you may have. Property, automobile records, residence, mortgages, other property. Where are they? Where are their titles located? Those type of things, right? Financial information can be stored in there as well. Again, so kind of one spot so people know where to go to access different accounts and close things out. Any military service. Where did they work? Well, they know they had several jobs, but where did they work? How many years did they work? What kind of business was it? So again, section 2, a lot of vital statistics information that again can be all encompassed into this one book. All right, we get into section 3, friends and family. So why would listing friends and family be important? Well, this again tells us a little bit more about that person's dash, right? Who were the people in their lives that were important to them and influenced them? Do I know the spelling of their name? Do I want to make sure that these people get invited to the celebration of life? Yeah, I may have an obituary notice out there, but maybe these are people I want to make sure I reach out to that, hey, Kevin thought enough of you that he listed you and he wanted to let you know that you were very important to him. And hey, I wanted to let you know about his passing and when the memorial service might be. Siblings, grandchildren, Okay. A lot of people, I've met a lot of people with a lot of grandchildren. Here's one place to have all their names, dates of birth, and that, and kind of remember that legacy that they're leaving behind as well. Friends and relatives. Again, not that this all has to be filled out, and not that you have to have this whole thing completed either. You can pick and choose what you want to do, or maybe it's something that you work on periodically over the next several weeks, months, dare I say, even the next couple of years or something like that. But something that can be filled out periodically. So section 3, a lot of information about spouse, children, siblings, grandchildren, friends, and relatives. And then finally, section 4 is their personal wishes. Okay. What are their funeral service instructions? Man, this is nice that they put this in here. So I knew exactly what they wanted. They wanted a traditional service. They wanted a rosary, or they wanted a visitation. They actually picked out the casket that they wanted. They wanted to make sure it was wood and that it was of a dark color, that type of thing. Where they want memorial contributions to go. Okay. So all these are questions now that the family doesn't have to, I wonder what they would have liked, because I want to honor them. You've put this down so that they know exactly what you would have wanted. Imagine eliminating some of that burden and alleviating some of that stress. Here's where they were going to be buried at, cemetery arrangements. They've already ordered a monument or marker, or maybe they haven't. Maybe that's something that they left for you to do yet, but they have some specifications on whether you want to put your fudge recipe or your famous Christmas cookie recipe on your tombstone, whatever that might be. All right. Who might you want to have as pallbearers? If you're doing a cremation, some cremation instructions. Again, getting into as little or as much detail as you want it to have there. Who's going to be in charge of arrangements at that time? So again, in one place, section 4, you can list a lot of those final arrangements and eliminate a lot of that stress and burden on the people that are trying to come together at that time to honor that person's life. All right. So a lot of the information in those things are going to be opportunities in helping to write an obituary. So we have some people that come in and they plan and they have their own obituary already written. Other people say, no, I'll let my kids, I'll let my family do that. But do they know enough about them and what those steps are, right? So here's kind of the basic steps to maybe think about at that time. Of course, you announce their death and that. One of the big ones is number 2, sharing their life story. Do they want to share some of that? When they got married, where they graduated, where they worked at? What were some of the key moments or memories in their life that they wanted to share? That kind of reflects on people that maybe didn't know them as well as what type of person that individual was, and what type of legacy are they leaving behind for their loved ones, their family, and the greater community that they lived in. A lot of times they list family members living and those close family members that have gone on before them. Of course, funeral memorial service information. A lot of times the obituary will ask for if somebody wants to honor that person by donating some money to a charity of their choice. That can be designated. You can tell people what that might be for you that they would want it. Maybe it's a church you belong to. Maybe it's a healthcare organization or a school. Sometimes it's just as simple as for family for further designation. So the family could decide how to honor and leave that legacy with donations that are left behind. Okay. Hey, another thing, you see obituary, it's not typically 100 pictures, right? It's one picture on an obituary. So what picture would you want? You want something more recent? Do you want something when you were younger? So again, letting people know, and again, we have people that are pre-planned and they have their picture we have it on file here that they want to have used, us to use at that time in their obituary. Okay. And then where are we going to share that? Are we going to have it online, in a newspaper, or do you not want an obituary? That's also a choice that it would be nice to know if they did or did not even want one. So those are some of the basic steps in doing that. So Kelly, here's some Journal Star obituaries. These were actual obituaries. This is some pricing back from December 2024. I don't think they've changed it yet, but Kelly, you can see here, there's Richard Conrad. You see a fairly lengthy obituary there. Have any idea, Kelly, what that might cost to put that obituary in? A guess?
Oh, golly. Based on personal experience and then also the things we do here in the marketing department, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
guess that gentleman's obit, that length is probably around $500. I feel like I'm on The Price is Right. Do I need to go
Yeah.
higher or lower?
Well, if you're on The Price is Right, as long as you don't go over, right? And you didn't go over, Kelly, so that was good. So
So
$760 for 2 days
with the picture, it was
with
the
the
picture
picture
of
and
it.
that. And you're
Yes.
right, Kelly, with the length of it. So yeah, that's a very, very solid guess. He added the American flag, so that boosted up a little bit more. Here's another one, just a little bit shorter. Any guess on this one, Kelly?
Okay, a little bit shorter, no icon, no American flag. Is that my $500 one, Bob?
That
No.
one now, yeah, 338. So you can see that's still a lot of money, Kelly, right? That you're putting in for the obituary to
Well,
have
yeah,
those placed in there. Here's
don't even
one.
have my funeral spread yet. Excuse me.
Oh yeah. Here's one with no picture. One more guess, Kelly. This can't be 500 now that we have no picture, right? And it's shorter.
That's about $200.
Yeah, there you go. Nice job, Kelly. 242 for 1 day. So if you wanted to run those multiple days, I don't believe they give discounts for multiple days, but you can see how that can add up. And a lot of times then you can also just do a death notice. You can see that that's just like a very much person's died, when they were born, and when maybe the service time is, and that's the $55 1 day flat fee. So it can add up to a lot. So again, these are things to be thinking about down the road of what you want in there and what you may want to pay for having some of those in there. You can see some of their notices there, and obituary photograph, $50 per day. No discount on multiple days. So roughly $5.20 per line, per column. And that line is approximately 20 characters. It doesn't take too long to add up 20 characters when you're writing. So again, just an idea. I just wanted to show you. A lot of people haven't thought of that and what the cost might be. But a lot of funeral homes, most funeral homes, including ours, will allow a person to have an obituary at no cost on their website. If you're doing the funeral there, they provide a nice obituary on their website. So a lot of people go that way. And then you can just, by word of mouth or social media, spread the news and let people know that so and so has died. And you can find, you can even share a link to that obituary on there. And these are really nice. These can be as short or as long as you want them to be. It doesn't matter. A great opportunity to really share and tell that person's life story. So here you can tell when the person is going to maybe be present for a visitation. This person was having a rosary, or where that's going to be at, those details. And then when the actual service was going to be, and then even the internment. Some of the things I love though is that these websites, ours included on funeral homes, you can write a note in the guest book. Okay. You can send a sympathy card. You can add a photo album. Do you have a great photo of a time or a memory or a moment with that individual that you'd want to share with others that kind of, again, encapsulates the impact that they had in their life? This would be one thing I would encourage you, and I've kind of learned over the course of my life, is to, if you have something, to go in and share a moment or a brief story, or how that individual impacted you in the guest book, or share that photo. Do something like that, so that that also shows other people that they were loved and they made an impact. So it's really a dual purpose for doing that. Some of the saddest things I come across is individuals when I look at their guest book and there's no comments in there, or there's only one or two. So if you knew the individual, take some time and just at least tell them that, hey, they'll be missed, that type of thing. I would encourage you to make that impact in that person's life, even on the last day of their earthly life. All right. What information is needed on a death certificate? So I thought this might just be interesting. So, you know, a lot of the information that would go, it comes from those two documents I have. That's a way to store it. But it's most of the things that you would think you would need: name, date, social security number, spouse, mother's name, maiden name, those type of things. Were they in the armed forces? Okay. Do you know what their the service dates were? Who is going to be the informant for that individual, their name and their relationship to the decedent, and where they're going to be buried at. So all of those are going to be information that a funeral home is going to need to fill in to get that death certificate. And a death certificate is really filled out based on two criteria. One, the funeral home completes part of it, but the second part will be completed by the doctor. Okay. So, oh, here's a couple other things that the funeral home will do is, like, again, what was the highest grade of education that they completed, that type of thing, their race. Okay. So that's where you see then the death certificate will actually then have all of that information filled in there. There's a example of an actual death certificate. Of course, I changed the names to protect the innocent, Kelly. So we did that. And then at the bottom, again, this is the second part that's needed, is like the cause of death. And the doctor at the time of that individual, whether it's a doctor at the hospital or their primary care physician, there will be a doctor that has to complete their portion of the death certificate. So the time to get the death certificate depends on how quickly the funeral home gets their part done, which is usually fairly quickly because they'll be meeting with the informant and getting that information. But then the doctor to state the cause of death, the manner of death, those type of things, the date of death, time of death, all those things that they have to officially send in before the official death certificate can come about. So typically it may take 2 to 4 weeks sometimes to get death certificates once they're completed. Maybe a handy rule of thumb there is typically we suggest death certificates, one death certificate per financial institution. So bank, credit union, insurance company, or if you needed them for like titles on insurance or titles for property, homes, other property, you may need a physical death certificate as well. All right. So why do people plan ahead? We talked a lot about planning in that, and you probably got a lot of the good ideas already. But if you talk with a funeral home and do the planning, did you know that you can actually freeze the cost of the funeral at today's costs? So not all the costs, like if they put money towards, let's say, the newspaper, obituary in the Lincoln Journal-Star, you can put money towards that, but we can't freeze that cost because that's something that's out of our control. But we can freeze and we can control the funeral home's costs for their services and that. So you can lock those in at today's prices. And if it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, those costs would not go up. Well, they're going to go up, but we would honor the current cost at that time. So that's a biggie, is locking in a lot of those costs. I talked about this a lot, relieving the members of the emotional burden and stress and anxiety that comes in. It's again, it's a gift of love. It's given that those people that you love that are closest to you some peace of mind. A lot of things I've seen in people that haven't planned is, unfortunately, the overspending that might happen. So, man, they didn't have a plan, but man, I loved mom so much, so much. We're going to do, we're going to give her the gold-plated casket, and maybe mom didn't want that. She wanted a wood casket or something like that. So you can avoid overspending during that difficult time. You can prepay your funeral, so you can fund that up to 100%. And hey, if you do it with a funeral home and they move to Arizona, Florida, something like that, you can always have that transferred to another funeral home as well. They don't have to stay with that one that they started with. Protect your assets. We have some people in situations for Medicaid spend downs that the government health and agency can't attack those funds or get to those funds. So if they're prepaid and they're irrevocable, then they know people have to die or will die, that they can't access those funds. So that's a great protection as well. That information is saved on file. You're welcome to review it at any time. And you don't have to worry about making sure that they find it at your home or in it. They just need to know that you had selected Butherus, Mazer, and Love or whatever funeral home that you're dealing with so that they have access to that file. And again, most important, you're expressing your wishes on how you want your life to be celebrated, your desires, and how you want those expressed. So again, let's go back to our dash here as we wrap things up here. I am everyone. Your life is the dash, right? So we think about it. Actually, in our lives, our tombstones, I know a lot of them don't do this, but the birth date, the death date, I think should actually be a little bit smaller, right? They're just a starting and an ending point, right? You read a book, yeah, you want to know what the first page is. You want to know how many pages it has in it, right? But really, the meat of the information in that is all the pages in between, right? What are those pages in that person's life telling us? And hopefully, it's telling us that it was a life well lived, a life with many, many family, friends, moments, and memories. Who were those family friends? What were the moments? What were the memories? Do you have a recollection of some of those memories? I came across this the other day and I wanted to add to this. I thought this was kind of good, a good description on a way to kind of tell this person's life story. Unfortunately, as a 10-year-old. But look at all that. It's basically look like Legos. The boy who never met a stranger. He was a master Lego builder, full of courage and bravery, with love of mountain biking, wizardry, nature, Pokemon, and pets. And look at it around his dash, what they had around his dash. Adventured always. Adventured always. And then a little parting gift to us. Yeah, stay curious, stay weird, and stay kind. So again, that's a brief idea, but we get a glimpse of who Liam was, even though none of us, I don't think any of us have met him. But again, it leaves a significant memory and inspires me a little bit to make the most out of my life. And he only lived, unfortunately, 10 years. So I'm going to leave you with this. Some of you maybe have heard it. It's called The Dash. It's a poem by Linda Ellis. And we'll go through this and we'll wrap things up. That's hopefully I like that a lot. I always I've seen it several times, but good reminder to me how I should live my life and what I want to learn from other people in their lives too about their dash. So life is made up of two dashes connected by, or two dates connected by a dash. So I challenge you to make the most of your dash. And you can put this sticky note somewhere on your desk or your refrigerator or your mirror. Note to self, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Make it the best day possible. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to be with you today. And thanks for joining. Hopefully, you had a couple good takeaways. If you're interested in one of those booklets, I'm willing to give those to you free of charge. So you can reach out to me at Butherus Major in Love. Give me a call there, or you can email me too. My email is kevin.orth. So it's just kevin.orth. And then it's just the initials of our funeral home, BMLFH. Kevin.orth at BMLFH.com. And I'd be happy to make know when you're going to stop by so I can have them at the front desk for you to pick up or something like that. And, maybe if you wanted to try and do that by, if you were interested, I'll give you a little bit of time, but maybe by the end of next week, the 15th. But feel free to reach out if I can answer any questions, or if you'd like one or both of those books. Again, that was the memory book. I remember when, with all those questions, about 20 pages in there, good conversation starter. And then there was personal expressions. So those two booklets are the ones that I was talking about that we'd love to make available to you if you would like those and you think they'd be useful for yourself and or some other loved ones in your family. Kelly, thanks so much for letting me be here. I don't know if there were any questions or comments.
Absolutely, there are. I am going to look in that chat feature or chat box.
All
We
right.
have several. I have to regain my composure here. I love that poem. It's beautiful set to that music. Just gorgeous. And I am such a proponent of pre-planning I've lost my parents and two sisters and several
Sorry
other
to hear
close
that. Yeah.
friends. And thank you. And my remaining sister, and I both agree that the instances where our family member had time to pre-plan or close friends that we've helped, it made all the difference. And although watching this and sitting here with you, the person has never really gone deep enough. So I think these materials are so important. For example, when I was still a banker and I would help people, this seems like a crazy thing, but I would hear so often, I wish we'd have put mom in something nicer to wear, or I wish we'd have
Yeah.
had this. And I would think, really, that's so bizarre, but no, it's so true. Or
Yeah.
someone who became a good friend who had been a bank customer, and she had asked me to speak at her funeral, and she was 95. And when I
Hmm.
was telling her what I was going to say, Kevin, she said, "Oh, well, that's terrible. You can't say that and don't share that memory." And together we decided what she wanted me to share. And I told that story at her funeral, and that got a big laugh. But anyway, look at all these questions. Oh my goodness. Do most people write their own obit? That's question number one.
Yeah, great question. No, in a way, I say unfortunately not, but sometimes because I guess you're living your life, I would probably say maybe about 20% of people write their own obituary. Um, and we have some people that will come back and they review it. So the files, once you do the planning, you can always come back and review it and make changes or updates, deletions, additions, all of those type of things. So it's not like kind of a one and done. It can be an active, working, living document. But yeah, only about 20% probably actually write their own obituary. Again, by gathering some of that information of where they worked, where they went to school, it allows that person or the family that they leave behind to use some of that for their obituary, but yeah, unfortunately, not a lot of people do. So that's something that you could do as a loved one. And I have some people that write their own, and then they write a little note. Hey kids, go ahead and add or delete anything that you want that was important to you. So
Okay, next question. If a prepaid funeral expense is transferred to another funeral home, for example, due to relocation,
uh-huh.
is the second funeral home, I'm sure, obligated to the same terms and conditions as the initial funeral home?
Yeah, that's another great question. So yeah, so typically when another funeral home gets involved, the one funeral home will pass on the information that was shared at that initial one. So, you know, what their wishes were, what they actually wanted. So we'll share, I send that information to them. But the key is that they also are getting that policy, the prepayment, and that funeral home by accepting that is acknowledging that they're going to honor those prices as well at their funeral home for whatever it is, traditional service, cremation, the type of service that they had paid for.
Makes sense. Okay. I have Deb asking if we'll be sending out these slides. Kevin and I did not talk about that, but he is making his materials available to you, the books.
Yeah. I don't
So,
really have anything to hide here. So if somebody would really like the slides for whatever reason, I'm happy to send those to you. Maybe it'd be best to email me, or I guess I could print them off too for you and you can pick them up. But just let me know. Again, kevin.orth@bmlfh.com.
and another thank you and this is you. I bet you hear this. Thanks. Just need to do it and quit procrastinating. And
Yeah.
we have another one of those. Like Ramona, I just need to do it and quit procrastinating. And several thank yous. And Kevin, I want to know now. I know the thought cost of a funeral can just be astronomical.
Mhm.
What are we up to now? Is it in the $20,000 range?
Yeah.
Give or take?
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly. That's a good question. We get that a lot. And you know, it really varies because we talked about at the beginning, you know, a funeral is about that own unique individual. So it's not a one size fits all type of thing. There are a lot of different nuances and moving pieces. So we try to make it, you know, tailored to what they're desiring. But at some of the core level, you're talking about either a cremation or a traditional casketed funeral. So those are kind of the two main choices there. So cremations are becoming more and more popular. I think some of that has to do with the cost of everything. Uh, Generally speaking, a cremation with a, memorial service will probably be somewhere around $6,000, probably in the $5,000 to $8,000 range for a cremation and that. And then for a casketed funeral, with that, you're probably looking, it's going to be in the typically $8,000 to $12,000 range. So I've had people that have gone higher than that. A lot of that depends on, you know, what kind of, if they're having a bigger reception and what type of food they're having, or the type of casket. There's a lot of different price variances on caskets and urns and things like that. But there are also ways to save money. We have people that for receptions and that after a service bring in their own food. That's a way to save money as opposed to having it catered. Some people, you know, go for a lower cost casket. With cremation, people they can provide their own urn. You know, you don't have to buy one from the funeral home. You can buy your own urn in that, or provide something as long as it's a container that is big enough for the ashes, which usually doesn't have to be that big container and has, you know, a lid or a cap to it. So those are other ways that you can save money.
Interesting. I must have been thinking of something very, very fancy. Those costs are still quite significant. So, Kevin, thank you so very much for
Mhm.
joining us today. And for all of you that are in your favorite viewing corner, who tuned in, thanks for giving up a slice of your Tuesday afternoon. I do hope you reach out to Kevin for the materials available, and thank you for all the gracious comments in the chat feature.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do we have time for one more quick one?
Sure.
Okay, I have life insurance. If I do pre-plan with you, who do I give you the life insurance?
Yeah, great question. Get that a lot. So yeah, a lot of people have life insurance, and obviously life insurance can be used to pay for that. Unfortunately, with most life insurance, unless you're able to make it irrevocable, and usually the life insurance is going to fit right into the cost of the actual funeral planning, so it makes it hard to do that. But definitely, you could obviously use the insurance to pay for it at that time. But strict individual life insurance doesn't lock in the costs at those time. It would be, whenever the death occurs, of course, they can file the claim with the life insurance company, but the cost that they would be paying for at that time would be whatever the cost is for the funeral service at that time. Yeah, that's why we use a special funeral home type insurance. It's a third party. No funeral home can keep the money themselves, so we use a third party funeral home that then locks in that actual cost of the funeral that they want. Nothing really more, nothing less, and then we can honor those costs there, because then we become the basically the beneficiary of that insurance policy for that funeral cost alone.
Great question and great answer. Well, thanks so very much again. Thanks to everybody who's viewing. Take good care, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Smarter Personal Expressions, the guide to celebrating a life well lived. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah,
Take
thanks.
care.
Make the most of your day, everybody.
Bye-bye.